We close out the Tokaj series today in the company of Anikó Kada of TR Wine's Tállya Tokaj. This episode was recorded in person in the village of Mad at the start of July 2023. I was in Hungary to visit a region I'd been to once before on a press trip with Wines of Hungary UK. The structure of this episode are 7 steps into a modern boutique Hungarian wine producer. We go on a journey through each of the 6 wine stories. Number 1, meeting the people behind the project. 2, exploring the culture they found themselves in when moving to the region. 3, exploring the visual geography of their growing sites and winery. 4, we talk geology in one of the most emblematic volcanic wine regions of the world. 5, we get into the viticultural practices that led to the name TR, the Tokaj Radicals, as their neighbours playfully called them. Number 6, we go into the cellar, looking at how they make wines that represent themselves and the terroir. Before the 7th part, my favourite, as we recorded in person, we were able to taste all 5 wines from their current portfolio. Moving from an organic Pét-Nat via dry ferment, through increasing sweetness levels, via a late harvest ferment, a Samarodni, before arriving at the region's trademark, the Tokaj Aszú. These wines have previously been imported into the UK, but not at present. TR Wines are actively seeking distribution in the UK and have attended Ferment February events to great acclaim. Indeed, Justin Key, writing in the bio, summarised why this producer still doesn't have a UK agent is something of a mystery. In short, today's episode has something for everyone. Enjoy!
My name is Anikó Kada, and we are now in the Tokaj wine region at the TR Wines Tokaj in Mad village. And our story goes back to 2012-2013. So we started the winemaking business in the 2013. We means my husband and our other friend. We are the owners and the investors in this wine project. In 2012, we started to look for the perfect land in the Tokaj wine region. We were all wine enthusiasts. It was our hobby. And then we decided that we would like to elevate this hobby and make it real. And why not try making wine? So 2012, we were looking for the perfect land, and by December we found it. And in 2013, we made our first wine. We were new in the region, so we don't have any winemaking background, no winemaking parents. We are not really from this area. So we were new. We were younger, 10 years younger. And yes, we were greeted by the locals, but we had our journey with them also to find our style over these 10 years, to find some people who were our mentors, and to create this community where we can get some support from. And now it's 2023. It is our 10 years anniversary. We are bigger now a bit. We are still investing a lot in viticulture. That's our main focus to work on, and the wines are getting better.
Perfect. And I think that for me, the interesting part, and you kind of hinted at there, maybe it's a sort of a 2-part question, really. I think because I haven't covered Hungary in masses of detail, I think it would be interesting just to briefly know, kind of where in Hungary you're both from. Are they other wine regions? I know wine is made in around 22 different regions of Hungary. And then also just to hear a little bit about your previous experience, because I think that is a really unique introduction into the winemaking world and this world that we're both in.
Yes. Okay. Let's start with my previous experience, and then I talk about the wine regions. So Yes, originally I was working in a multinational company in front of the computer. I was responsible for customer service and finance. I worked with the Spanish and the Portuguese market. During 6 years, I was a middle manager, which I really enjoyed. I learned a lot from a very well controlled, big international company. The organization, people management, I learned a lot, but still my dream was one day to leave that behind and to be able to work in my own winery. Mm-hmm. So I decided to study a bit more about that, and I did an MBA in Lausanne at the École Hôtelière de Lausanne in 2017. I did the MBA in hospitality management. And after that, I went to Portugal. I lived in the Douro Valley for 6 months, and I worked as a sommelier. And finally, since 2019, I'm fully dedicating myself to the winery, to our winery.
Yeah. Okay. And what about the origins of yourself and your husband? Was it actually in another wine producing region, or is this first steps into wine we're taking in Tokaj?
Yeah, so with my husband, we decided that we would like to go for it and let's start making wine. And the idea was clear about Tokaj. So we always had Tokaj in our mind. There are some other some very good other wine regions in Hungary also, like Eger, Villány, Sopron, around Lake Balaton. But still it was Tokaj, which is which reputation internationally it's quite known among the other Hungarian wine regions. Its cultural heritage is impressive. The traditions, the history, hundreds of years of winemaking. It has a very special climate, special wines, like the sweet dessert wine. So all this together made us wanting to have a vineyard in Tokaj. So that was clear that if we do wine, it will be in Tokaj. Originally, I'm from the Eger wine region, which is, I grew up 20 kilometers from Eger. So actually wine was always in my life, and I was always close to viticulture and winemaking and harvest. Yeah, my family had a very small vineyard, but it's only for ourselves, and the quality was not good, and the wine, but still, when I was a little kid, I went to do the harvest. So I had more or less some knowledge about winemaking, but I didn't know much about Tokaj in my childhood. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting. I mean, I think it's always nice to hear when there's been I guess the wine is in your blood, and you've been around it at any level. I think it's super important and super interesting. I personally didn't have that, and in England there's a lot of, in London we don't have those opportunities. But I think something that you said earlier, Anikó, about transitioning to here, I think will be really interesting to really give a bit of an insight into the culture here, because you were talking about mentors, and you were talking about really help, I guess, and support in making the transition and more in the early days. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind, kind of zooming in really on that part of the story for us.
Yes. So as I mentioned, we were new in the region and no winemaking background. But we were very enthusiastic, and we wanted to learn it by doing it. But still, we needed someone who is more local, who has the knowledge of the soil and the winemaking traditions. And in the first years, we had a mentor from another winery, from the Kikelet winery, Stephanie Beret. She guided us also in the vineyard and in the winemaking techniques. It was very good to work with her. And also we managed to find the right people. We managed to have some friends in the area. For example, we didn't have the press machine in the first year. We knew a girl, Dorka Homoki. She's also a winemaker. Their family had a press machine, so we went there to press the grapes. And since then, we have a very good community here. We work and we talk a lot with other winemakers. So we share our experience. We share the problems. We try to find solution together for the problems. If there is something not working in the winery, we call the other winemaker who helps us. So we always share ideas and experiences. And yeah, basically, I'm happy that we have this culture here. So mostly it's a new generation. So there are quite a lot young wine producers, and it's good. It's an active winemaking community here.
Yeah, this absolutely echoes what Laszlo was talking about yesterday, and what the listeners will have heard in the previous episode. So really, very very positive. A small point, a small kind of follow up, really. There, it's just to get your kind of personal take on, right now, as we say, July 2023. Do you kind of feel that there are, people are coming here? The younger people are coming from other regions of Hungary and potentially even other regions of the world. I mean, I asked that, I think, in the context of what we were talking about yesterday, in terms of, we're in MAD. There's obviously a draw for younger people to go to cities and Budapest and Debrecen and, the other cities that are kind of around the place. So I'm just curious, do you see that as kind of, maybe turning the tide a little bit and actually, this being a place that can draw in young, hardworking winemakers and people that are interested in, putting the work in when it comes to wine?
Yes, I think in terms of winemaking and the quality and the technique, I think Tokaj is a very interesting wine region. So for winemakers, I think it's a challenge, and it's a great place to learn and because we have the Furmint grape out of which you can make dry wine, sweet wine, also sparkling wine, and the very sweet dessert wine with botrytis. So it's such a large scale, which makes this wine region very interesting for winemakers. So I think it's an attractive wine region. And also because of its international name, it's attractive for winemakers to come here to work at the wineries. Sadly, the local younger generation is it's a tendency that they are leaving the region. They don't really find themselves. They don't really want to work with the wine, or they just find other opportunities in the surrounding cities. So the younger generation is leaving, but I hope that in the near future it's gonna stop, because more and more people are discovering Tokaj. So they come here to spend some days, some weekends, and this wine tourism is becoming more popular. So it's going to need more people working in hospitality and in the infrastructure. So I hope that Tokaj will be also a very desiring place to be. Yeah.
And I will add actually another kind of point really on the culture, because again, everything that you've said to me really since I've been here and since I've spent the day with you looking at the vineyards and looking at your property here, has been really, for me, the big theme has been around you opening up really your garden, your house, your vineyards, and getting people to come here. And I'm sure, because you're relatively young, bringing your friends and bringing other people who are kind of attracted to your mission and the way that you're working, which we'll kind of get into. I think, could you paint us that picture first of all, just in terms of why is that so important to you? Why is that kind of at the core of what you do? Making sure that this isn't just a place for you and your family and other winemakers, but it's a place for other people from outside and from other cities to kind of come in here and maybe see a bit of what they're missing as well.
So actually this to be able to work in my own winery, it was a dream for me. So still, every day I feel that I'm living my dream, that I have here this property, the garden, the vineyard, and I'm lucky that I can also live in the capital, but I have also my place in the vineyard, in the countryside. So that is exactly what I would like to spread and share it with the guests, with my friends and with all the visitors coming to our place. we are trying to give a full package, a full experience. So if they come for a tasting to us, it's, we always go out to the vineyard to do a little tour with a picnic, with a tasting. And, I always show them the vineyard. It's really about the wines there. It's not just the bottle and the wine in the glass, but they have to see the landscape and where exactly the grapes are coming from. So that's the full picture. And then we really like to organize open cellar events. So we open our garden, we do barbecue together, we cook in an open fire, which is a very Hungarian way that almost every garden has an open fire. And there is the fire, and you have a huge pot, and you can cook the goulash or whatever in it. So it's really something that most of the people know from their childhood, but they don't really live it nowadays, especially if they are in the capital or in a big city working in front of the computer. So when they visit us, it's an other experience. It's very natural experience, and you are really in the core of our life. And I'm able to share our life at the winery.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's just, again, having the connection. You told me you don't have, too much difficulty getting maybe once a month, 50 or so people here at the, what is the house / winery. And the ages will be, maybe 30 to 60. There's a real kind of, diversity. And I just, want to applaud and share that really, because, I think that there's a lot of, in some circles, and maybe, rightfully so, there's kind of a bit of doom and gloom about, okay, are we getting new people to come into wine and kind of replace the older drinkers? And, what is wine's place kind of in people's lives in terms of, being consumed as we kind of go forward. And I think that definitely, making it part of people's lifestyle, kind of, putting it there on a plate for them to say, yeah, we've got the place here. You just need to get a train from Budapest, or, get a designated driver and, drive an hour or drive a couple of hours from another city. You're creating that space where people can, as you say, come and experience that and bring them closer, to wine, to the countryside, and ultimately to Tokaj as well.
Yes, exactly. That's our aim, to be able to transfer this experience and this feeling that you are really in the nature, in the village, in the countryside. And that's how you will understand the wine. So if you drink it just from the glass somewhere in a wine bar, okay, you feel you can decide if you like it or not, but it's totally different here at the birthplace of the wine.
I love it. Yeah. And it's why one of the reasons why I love wine region so much, and why it's, a total pleasure to come back to Tokaj. So, I think, we've been, talking a lot about, I think really interestingly, the culture and the people and kind of the feeling. I really feel as though we've captured what it's like to be here, and, that those vibes really, I guess we would say. But, I want to transition really and start to give the listeners more of a visual, because today does not suck at all. We're sat out here in your back garden, and we've got our podcasting set up. So I think what would be the best place to, again, kind of build the picture for the listener is really to kind of give them in essence that kind of virtual tour that you gave me earlier. When we walked around the property here, and then if at all possible, then just maybe take them again virtually on the drive that we then took, out to those different vineyard sites. Okay,
so we are at our winery, in the back garden of our winery. Our size is relatively small, so we make 5,000 to 7,000 bottles per year from 4.5 hectares. Therefore, this area, this winery is a very intimate space. It's a very familiar space. We have, in a separate building, we have, the fermentation area. We have, the stainless steel tanks where we do, the fermentation spontaneously. And, we have a very little underground cellar, which is very typical in the Tokaj wine region. Mm-hmm. That's where we have the oak barrels. It's made from local oak from this region, 300 liters. It's where we do the aging of the wine.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and then we have a very nice open garden where we do the wine parties, the open cellar events. We have a nice terrace, very with some wines and some greens, bushes around it, and that's our tasting zone where we can do the tastings and the dinners, etc.
And what about you were, and I was very happy to go along with that, but you were so proud, I think, to take me earlier and show me some of really all of the vineyard sites, which was great. So maybe again, you kind of retrace a little bit those steps, and just talk a little bit about, again, fairly high level, what did we see on that particular couple of drives that we made.
Right. So in Mad, it's a some minutes drive that we can reach the vineyards of Mad. It's important that in Tokaj, the wineries are not located in the vineyard, but most of the wineries are located in the village. And then you have around the village, you have the vineyards. And so in some minutes we can reach the vineyards, and we went up to the top of the Szent Tamas, or in Hungarian Szent Tamas vineyard and Szent Tamas hill. That's one of the most prestigious and valuable and most important vineyard of the Tokaj wine region. So we went to the top of that, and the view is amazing. From there, you can see the village of Mad and the Mad basin with all the different vineyards. It's mostly formint planted everywhere and Hárslevelű. So we stopped there. And then we went to, and in Szent Tamas, we have 1 hectare vineyard, which we acquired last year in 2022. We did the harvest, but we decided to cut the vines, and we are replanting it now. So we are preparing the soil for the new plantation that is going to happen in next April, the new plantation. And then we went to the village of Tállya, which is 7 kilometers here from Mad. It's a very short drive, and we have a bigger plot in Tállya, and that's where we also started our winemaking journey. We have altogether 3.5 hectares in Tállya. It's certified organic, the Viticulture, and we met our our colleague. He was working in the vineyard currently, yes, we checked all. There is a new plantation also there, a 5 years old plantation. So there is a constant work in the vineyard, and it's the middle of the season, the most important time of the year.
Yeah. And for me, as somebody who's not particularly fit, you thankfully left out the part about the slope, because actually walking up to the vineyard and up the slope, it's pretty steep. It's pretty steep.
Yes, it is. It's a very precious land. So at the bottom, we are at 180 meters above sea level. In the middle, where we have a little building, it's 200 meters, and the top it's around 230 meters. But these 30 meters elevation, it's very steep, and it's very rocky. So it's volcanic. The soil everywhere, basically in Tokaj, it's volcanic. It's really billion years of volcanic activities, constant eruptions, calm periods, fossilized volcanic ash, lava, and we have andesite and rhyolite, the most important bedrock. But we could see those rocks, and also our cover crop, which is very nice, colorful. Today, and the grapes, the fruit setting is almost already done this period of the year. We could see the grape bunches. And at the top of our vineyard, there are some old terraces, which we are planning to recultivate. So we have to cut the bushes and clean the area. And hopefully in the next 2-3 years, we will be able to recultivate the old terraces made with the rocks. And we will be able to plant there some vines as well. Yeah,
it's, for me, looking and walking around the different sites, and the way that you were describing it it's definitely, it feels like an interesting time, almost a pivotal time in the journey to be looking, because it feels as though the current property here, you're pretty much at capacity, and as you say, with 3.5 hectares planted, and but the total area, including the vineyards that aren't yet planted and are going to be planted in the future, approaching 10 hectares. So if we almost project up into the future, there's going to be kind of a lot of work to be done in the next few years, but presumably a lot more production and different types of wines coming onto the market as well.
Yes, exactly. So altogether, we own 10 hectares, but only less than half is planted. But the remaining part is for the future. And of course, if we have all the 10 hectares planted, we are already thinking of how we are going to grow our winery, the infrastructure. But that's a very long-term objective.
Yeah,
but winemaking
yeah.
and viticulture is a very long journey.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that it's great to just capture that. Yeah, you've got the direction, you've got the North Star, and that you'll kind of fill in the steps on the journey as you go along. I think that's the exciting part for me to follow along with you really over the coming years and kind of see how those steps go and exactly how that all gets kind of colored in. And I think again, what would be a great transition now that we've got a sense, of course. Nothing quite beats, standing there in the vineyard and kind of seeing it with your own eyes. But I think always what is fascinating for me, and I think especially for Tokaj really, and for what is, a fantastically diverse, growing site and a, very, very complex, region, would be to get a snapshot of the geology. You've already, spoken a little bit about the volcanic influence and how such a different and diverse history over sort of billions of years. And I think what might be an interesting way to maybe compare and contrast a little bit would be to talk a bit to Szent Tamas and the Mad Basin and this particular area where you've got the vineyard that's coming online, and maybe slightly compare and contrast with Tállya and what we saw there, and maybe the different growing conditions, but more importantly, what might have been some of the commonalities, the differences in terms of the forces that shape those different landscapes.
So as I mentioned, Tokaj is a volcanic land, and it's very interesting that in Tokaj, almost all the different types of volcanic rocks are present. Every village is a bit different in terms of geology and the volcanic rocks. For example, Szent Tamas, the St. Thomas Hill is it's a huge plot, but there are also differences in terms of bedrock and the geology. So one part is very rocky. It's mostly andesite with some iron oxide. So usually, the color is reddish. Mm-hmm. And the other side, where we have our plot, it's mostly clay and also some residuals and fragments of these rocks. Mm-hmm. With mixed with clay. Mm-hmm. So before now that we are planning the new plantation, we did a soil study. So we digged down 3 meters, and on the top, in the middle, and at the bottom of the vineyard, just to investigate and do a research in terms of the quality of the soil and what kind of soil do we have. And it was very interesting to see that the different structure and the different clay structure. So it's clay everywhere, but still different. So those million years of volcanic activity, you can see it in that plot, and at the end you can drink the wine and you can feel that minerality in your glass. And on the other hand, Tállya, it's also rhyolite, the white stone with also some iron oxide, and andesite, which is a gray, very hard rock, usually used for highway construction and around the railways. And we also did a soil study. We digged down, and it's just rocks everywhere. Clay is not very present, but rocks everywhere. And it was interesting to see the roots of the vines, that they really go deep down, looking for some water, meters and meters down. And because the vine actually wants to survive, and they are always looking for water, and that's how they get the minerality of the soil. So we can say that these Tokaj vineyards are very high in minerals.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was in Tállya where you said you took the samples and looked there. And I know that you mentioned that in the 2.5 hectares there that are kind of contiguously planted together, you've got some vines that go back to 1980. So presumably those are the ones that have really gotten down and really have had the time to search out that precious water.
Yes. So some part, half of our land was planted in 1980 and the other half in 2005. So those are 15 to 40 years old vines.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. And I think that very naturally this leads me to really asking you about the viticulture, because as you say, we bumped into your what was your colleague's name as well, that we Geology. Okay, so Joseph. Yeah, we met Joseph, and he didn't look like he was having any problems with the slopes. I'm sure he does it every day and is sort of up and down there. If we, maybe, imagine Josi is here and we're kind of, giving an insight into, the way that he works and maybe the philosophy that yourself, your husband, your partners, are kind of, laying down again, that kind of direction of travel. What are some of the key, I guess, tenets upon which TR is built in terms of viticulture and what happens out there in the field?
Okay, let's start it from the harvest. So we pick everything by hand, the grapes, and after the harvest, it's a relatively calm period, so nothing really happens in the vineyard. But we start the pruning during winter time, usually in December, January, February. So it's our colleague Josi who is doing the pruning on his own. We also help him, and we have a plant doctor. He's consulting us, and he's the one visiting our vineyard every week and checking if there is any disease in the vineyard or what could we do better. So we started to do the pruning also it's called a gentle pruning, where we have to respect the flow of the wine. So we have to decide how to cut it. So it's a new practice, which is it's very useful. So it's the beginning of the year, winter, still pruning till around February, March, April. It's when the bud break is going to happen. The new, the wines starts to live again. So after this dead and calm period, and in May, it's the flowering, May, June flowering, and from April, the protection starts. So we have to start doing the viticulture management. We are certified organic, so there are some very little materials we can use for spraying. It's mostly sulfur and copper that we use, and some other things that we can spray. So and we have a cover crop in the vineyard, which is very important, especially in organic viticulture. It's a very colorful cover crop with some flowers, and it's good to improve the soil's structure, the nutrition. It works like a green fertilizer. It's very good to keep the water in the soil, and it's a natural fight against the weed. So it's very important.
Yeah, and again, it was mentioned kind of in passing earlier, but I think it's a time to bring it back up again. You did mention that actually you're one of the, as far as you know, one of the few certified organic producers in and around the region, and I guess focusing on you, maybe unpick a little bit. Why was it that you kind of bet for that, and that has become a core part, and have you in that culture and that kind of passing on of knowledge, have you through that journey kind of attracted people asking you about the benefits and your journey with organic?
Since the beginning, we started to do the viticulture in an organic approach, and that was clear for us that if we make wine, it's going to be organic. for us, it's the future. And also when I buy some vegetables, fruits, or milk, eggs, I always try to look for the organic certification. So that was no question at all that I don't want to use any chemicals or in the vineyard. So at the end, we are going to drink that wine. So that was no question for us. So we decided to go on the organic way. And yes, there are quite a few, very little producers who are organic. But I think it will be more a tendency, and more winemakers will decide to work in an organic way.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to winemakers in other regions, it seems to be something that the market is demanding, and I guess in a business point of view as well, it can be a great point of differentiation as well. So who knows? There may well be kind of other kind of knock-on. I don't know. Have you come across anyone else who's kind of in transition, or are you kind of hearing more conversations about that in the region?
Yes, there are some producers who are in a transition, or there are some producers who work in an organic way, but they don't have the certification. They don't really want to restrict themselves with the certification. But still, I see in the vineyard. So when we started it in 2013, since then our wines are so much more stronger and healthier. And the objective of the organic viticulture is to make the wines capable of protecting themselves. So we are making stronger and healthier plants, and that's how they can fight against the disease, that their leaves are much healthier and stronger. Yeah, and because we have to spray a lot, but in order to protect them. So it's like a multivitamin for the humans that we constantly add these vitamins and stuffs for the wines.
Yeah. Okay. No, I absolutely, I love that. And, I think it totally makes a lot of sense. And again, we're kind of hopping back to, some of the things that I said on our earlier tour, but definitely for me, I think, one of the big, challenges and opportunities really in the wine industry, if we kind of zoom right out, is actually to, make a stronger connection between the consumer and the process of making wine. I mean, for me, it's I think a natural consequence of selling, as we do in the UK, for example, 90% plus of our wine being sold in the supermarket, then wine is naturally going to be commoditized because it goes into the basket with the I don't know, the jam and the sugar and the ready meals, and there's a lot of processed things in our supermarkets in England. A lot of things that are in packets, and I just wonder if we're kind of training people to make that association, and they kind of think of, oh, it's just we're just getting a bottle of wine with without necessarily just think that is an organic thing, that is that is an organic product that again we're putting in our body. So whereas maybe those same people would sort of want to, given the choice, they'd go for an organic bunch of grapes over a non-organic, or make other sort of decisions around the other things you mentioned, the chicken, the fish, the vegetables, the fruit. It's saying, okay, there's also if you're going to be doing that for those things, if you're going to be going to a farmer's market for those things, and you're going to be understanding where those come from and have that curiosity, then maybe, do the same for the wine as well. Why not?
Yes, exactly. And what's nice to see in the vineyard that, the biodiversity is so, live there. So we have the ladybugs and all these, bugs, and it's so vivid, everything there, and noisy, and the different species that we have. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it totally. No, I loved going out there, and lovely day today. We could walk out there. We could see all of this firsthand. So, super happy, and really, being here in person again. One of the big pluses for me is that it will give us the chance to taste some of your wines in a short while. But I think that, what would be a great transition to kind of bring it all together, which, I think is hopefully going to be a great intro for me and for the listener, is just to talk, briefly, again, at a fairly high level about enology. So again, you spoke about in the vineyard and the viticulture, or organic and hands-on, so those are some of the non-negotiables. What might be some of the similar parallel kind of non-negotiables, philosophical decisions that you've made on the winemaking side?
Yeah, so during the harvest time, we already, when we are picking the grapes by hand, we add some dry ice to prevent the oxidation and fermentation. So it's we try to be as quick as possible. We do the pressing, very gentle pressing. We always press the whole bunches, and then we do the fermentation spontaneously. So we don't add anything. It's nothing special. We do it in the stainless steel tank, and after the fermentation, we put some part of our wine in oak barrel, and some part stays in the stainless steel tank. After 5-6 months, we mix them and we do the bottling. So it's really we try to be as natural as it can be. It's basically.
Yeah, it's well, as you say, I'm thinking sometimes less is more. It's letting the wines speak for themselves, and that in and of itself, I think, is a great segue, a great transition to tasting some of the wines.
Yes, of course. Before the big harvest, usually from the middle of August, we always do test harvest. So we pick the grapes from the different plots in our vineyard. We have to check the sugar level, the acidity, the pH level. So we do a lot of analytical work in order to define the best day to do the harvest. So based on these numbers, we can calculate that, okay, how is the ripeness is going to elevate, and that's how we can decide what's the best day for harvest. And we are in Tokaj. We have sweet wine, which is very interesting that we use the same grape, the Furmint, for dry wine, sweet wine, late harvest, and the wine with the botrytis. It just depends when do you harvest and how the sugar is growing in the grapes, and also if we have the noble rot, the botrytis.
Hey, it's present day Lawrence here, just interrupting your podcast for a minute. Really hope you're enjoying the episode. And now that we've covered all 6 wine stories, it's finally time to try the wines. One important thing to note is that for each wine, you've got the text sheet in the description below. So even if you don't have the wine with you, you can read the details and imagine how it would taste. Best approach of all, of course, is if you've got a bottle of TR in your fridge, or you can get a bottle, pause the podcast and crack open that bottle and let Anikó and I guide you through a virtual tasting. Just makes me thirsty thinking about it. Okay, now back to Mad Village, Anikó and host Lawrence.
Thanks so much for, I think, really setting the scene, setting the picture, and I think, transporting the listener virtually at least to here, to where we are in Tokaj, sitting here, having a terrible time out in the garden, dodging the neighbors' cats who keep coming over to introduce themselves. But what we've got in front of us now, the scene that's here on the table, are actually 5 of the wines that you've selected to take us through and to taste together. So this is really where I just invite you to go one by one, introduce the wine, give us your sensations and your overview of the wine and its place in the portfolio. So over to you, Anikó.
All right. So our first wine that we are tasting is an organic Pét-Nat from 2022. So I just opened this bottle, and this is a Pét-Nat, Petit and Naturel. It's translated from the French. It means naturally sparkling. And this is the ancient way of making champagne. So champagne is the method traditionnel. This is the method ancestral. The first time we made this wine was in 2015. We found a French article about Pét-Nat, and we read it, and that's very interesting and exciting. Why not making it? So the first time we made it, in 2015, and we tasted it, but the market was not really ready for a Pét-Nat that time. So we didn't do it in 16 and 17, and then since 2019 we are selling it. And this is certified organic. This is 100% Furmint, and the way of making Pét-Nat is the following. So we do the harvest, we do the pressing, and we start the fermentation in the tank, stainless steel tank. And during the fermentation, we bottle it. So we picked it at the beginning of September, and at the beginning of October, it was already in bottle. So we have to measure the sugar level and decide the right time for the bottling based on the sugar level. And the fermentation stopped in the bottle. It finished in the bottle, and it's no filter. It's not filtered. It has the sediments, the dead yeast cells at the bottom of the bottle. It's very fruity, sparkling, very refreshing. No sulfur added, only the natural white sulfur from the wild yeast in it. Yes.
Yeah, very straightforward, I guess, in a lot of ways, and kind of a as you say, a nod back to what is, a method of making sparkling wine that certainly predates champagne, which I think is interesting for a lot of people to hear and to come across. And I'll be honest, I don't have masses to add, but I think it might just be interesting to, I guess, underline again. Really, yes, it's 100% ferment from Tállya. And is it from a particular part of those vineyards that you described earlier?
Yes, it's from Tállya. It's from that plot, so it's from our single plot. Yes.
Okay, very cool. And maybe just a final point, because again I think it's interesting for me again to see here the branding is actually quite different on the Pét-Nat versus the other wines that we're about to try. So maybe say, I guess, how was that decision made, and also potentially some of the reaction in the market, because this is maybe something a little bit unusual for Tokaj.
Yeah, that's a good question, because this Pét-Nat is a little bit different from our portfolio, from the rest of our wines. So that's why I wanted to create a different label for this wine. My idea was to put a volcano on this bottle. So literally, I draw a volcano on the bottle, and I sent it to our graphic designer. It's a volcano because of the volcanic soil that we have in Tokaj. And it's a sparkling wine, so that's why there is the eruption on the label. That's how I wanted to emphasize the volcanic nature of it and the sparkling nature. And it's something. It's a natural wine, also no sulfur added, certified organic, so it's different from the rest of the portfolio. The second wine we are tasting now is the TR Dry 2018. This is our, I would say, estate wine, but basically we have currently one plot. So it is also a single vineyard wine from the vineyard called Palota in Tállya. This is 80% Furmint and 20% harsh levelű. We pick the grapes by hand. We do whole bunch pressing, very gentle pressing. We harvested the grapes on the 1st of September in 2018. 18 was a very hot, very warm, sunny year with very little precipitation during the summer. After the pressing, we do the spontaneous fermentation in the stainless steel tank, and 70% of the wine we keep in the tank, and 30% of the wine goes to the oak barrel for 6 to 8 months, and then we blend it and we do the bottling. We did it in 2019 June, the bottling, and it was aged for around 3 years, bottle aging. I think these wines need some aging. So as we talked about the minerality, the volcanic soil, and Furmint, it has high acidity, some residual sugar. So everything, the minerality, the sugar, the acidity, needs some time to give the balance and for a proper aging. And that's why I really prefer aging them in the bottle before consuming it. So now it's a very complex and elegant dry wine, still with some minerals. It has some saltiness. For me, also minerals means saltiness in the mouth. Still, it has the citric flavors and some apple or almond, some apricot.
Yeah, I got to say, I absolutely love that. I think that is in such a good place. Really, again, it's a pleasure as well to I think, your sommelier background is coming out as well. Absolutely loving the descriptions that you're giving here. And maybe I can sort of, shed some light on where I see this kind of attracting a drinker, because I just think that anything that somebody is looking for in a wine, they can almost find it here. As you say, it has had some of that aging, and maybe it's given it the chance to kind of fully integrate and kind of find its feet, but it's got all of those things. That the complexity is there, as you say. The oak is there, but it's not over the top. It's as you say. I would say judicious use of the oak, not overly used. The minerality is there. The fruit is there. It's having it nicely chilled, not too chilled, not too warm. So it's also very refreshing. It's also then very Moorish as well, because I'm getting the kind of the sensation that I would like another glass already, and I would like another taste. And I think that it has also then got enough complexity in a different way to the Pét-Nat that then kind of sets itself up for sommeliers and restaurateurs who maybe want to explore with food pairings. And I just think it's to me such a versatile wine that you kind of put together here. And I guess that's very much in keeping with the estate wine that I guess people can meet it in different phases of their life, and it can carry them through different events and different circumstances. So big thumbs up from me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The third wine we are tasting is the TR Édes. Édes means sweet. This is a sweet late harvest from 2019. For us, this is our flagship wine. This is one of the most important wine for me in our portfolio. The grapes here are, again, 80% Furmint and 20% Hárslevelű, just like in our dry wine. The difference is the time of the harvest, picking the grapes. So here we pick the grapes in October, usually at the end of October, very mature, very ripe grapes, but no botrytis on the grapes, no burr rot. And then comes the pressing and the spontaneous fermentation in the stainless steel tank. Then everything goes to Hungarian oak barrels for 8 months. In the next summer, we do the bottling and aging for some years before putting it on the market. So with this wine and comparing this to the previous one, so the structure is exactly the same, 80% Furmint, 20% Hárslevelű. For the dry, we harvested it at the beginning of September, for the sweet at the end of October. So that this wine shows also very well the versatility of the Furmint grape and the Tokaj wine region, that you can make amazing dry wines and also this late harvest wine. It's very fruity, a lot of peach, citrics, red apple in the nose and also in the mouth, but still it has the acidity to back it. Tokaj is about natural sweetness, and it has 70 grams of sugar. So this is not a dessert wine like the Samorodni and the Aszú that we are going to taste now. This is a kind of wine, but you can easily drink several glasses of this wine. It's sweet, but it still has the acidity. I think the most interesting pairings I had are with these wines, with this wine, because I like to pair it with main course. For example, grilled vegetables or grilled cheese. For example, if you are grilling vegetable on charcoal, when for example, a carrot starts to caramelize, that flavor and this sweet wine just makes such a great pairing. It's so interesting. It's a very good experience.
Yeah, and no, I love. Yeah, you raised that point as well, and to I think re-emphasize, re-underline. I think the thing that really caught my attention though was the difference, as you say, in terms of the sugar and the profile from a relatively small from the outside at least tweak in terms of the timing of picking and a difference in terms of the maturation. As you say, 100% of this going into the Hungarian oak, and it's a completely different wine as well. And I'm very happy that one of the comments you made there does also kind of align with the very first observation I made when you brought these wines out, which is actually that these first three wines, the Pét-Nat, the dry, and the Édes, are all in 75 centiliter. So you've served and you bottled a sweet wine in a 75 centiliter. And I'm just curious, is there a particular reason why this is the last wine that we've got in a 75 centiliter before we then go into the smaller? It's just something that caught my attention.
Yes, it's a good question because sweet wines are usually bottled in half a liter bottles, but we decided to put it in 75 centiliters. The reason is because we also dedicate this wine to the gastronomy, to restaurants, and especially restaurants like it very well. It's with screw cap. It's easy to open. It's a bigger bottle, and it is. We are emphasizing that it is for with the main course for gastronomy. So it's not a dessert wine. It's not just for desserts.
Got you. Okay. No. Yeah. And then I think is an important signal. I mean, I thought maybe that is a kind of a signal from the Hungarian consumer, that actually they are maybe more predisposed to drinking sweeter wines, as that has been their main wine of the evening. But I think that also then goes to saying, and in your description as well, why not have this in a gastronomical setting, not just keep it as the little bottle to have at the end of the meal and to pair with the dessert, but this has got a much broader range of applications, so why shouldn't it be in a larger format?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The next wine is the TR Samorodni, 2017 is the vintage. First, Samorodni means it's a Polish word, and it's a winemaking style, actually, and the technique. Samorodni means as it is grown. So it's coming from the Polish, which means that here we pick the grapes usually at the end of October or in November, and we pick whole bunches which have grape berries with botrytis and healthy berries. So that's why it means as it is grown. So we pick the full bunch with botrytis, no botrytis, healthy grapes, ripe grapes. We press everything together, and we do the spontaneous fermentation in the tank. After that, we age it in Hungarian oak barrel for 18 months, so for 1.5 years in oak. Then bottle aging. So this is bottled in a smaller bottle. It's 375 milliliters. This is a dessert wine, or it can also be consumed with foie gras, blue cheese, Stilton cheese. But also, or to finish a meal instead of dessert, you drink a bottle of Samorodni. It's fresher than an Aszú wine, thanks to the healthy grape berries, and the sugar level is 140 grams, and the acidity is 7.5 grams. The flavors are apricot, honey, yes, very ripe apple. Yeah, my favorite pairing is always with foie gras and the blue cheese for this wine. Or this is also for a celebration. It has the nice acidity, which backs up very well the high sugar content.
Yeah, super interesting, and it seemed to have escaped me. Actually, I'll be honest, on the visit to Tokaj, that's what Samorodni means, and that is a Polish word, and as it is grown is a definition, as I think as you kind of put there. I think the question that's really comes to mind though is there then therefore quite a lot of variation? So in terms of there's a certain amount of the bunch that's got botrytis and a certain amount that doesn't have it. So do you kind of visually look at the bunch and say, okay, this has got maybe 20% botrytis or 50% or 80%, and use that as your guide to what the final wine is gonna actually come out, and because that presumably there's a big range of what the final style will come out under that Samorodni heading or label.
Yes, it's a big range, and the interesting part is that botrytis happens not from one day to another, but it's a constant, it's a long period, so it happens over the weeks. So if I go out today at the vineyard and I see only 10% of botrytis in a bunch, in the next week it will be 20-30%. So we have to find the right time to pick these, and we have to measure also the sugar level, the acidity, to do this test harvest to be able to predict how our wine will be in the bottle.
This wine, this Samorodni, I think it's so interesting, the transition there from the Édes to the Samorodni, because I think again almost the acidity is giving the feedback about whether or not this is something that I personally would want to have by itself, or would be more a food pairing, would be more a gastronomic wine. And yeah, definitely, I think you notice a step up in complexity, a step up in sugar, and yeah, certainly I'd want something to balance it out. But again, really, fabulous finish that I'm still enjoying now after 2 minutes.
Yes.
Final wine?
Final wine in our portfolio is the llya Tokaj Aszú 2017. So we call this wine Aszú because for this wine we have to pick the grapes berry by berry, the berries which have the botrytis, the noble rot. And as I mentioned, it's a very long process of having botrytis on your grapes. It's not happening every year in our vineyard. It has to have the right conditions, the right climatic conditions. So we have to have a very nice sunny hours during the autumn and some humidity during the night. And there are ladies who are picking these Aszú berries, the berries with botrytis. So they are. I
think we've just met some of them in the vineyard.
Yes, so they have huge experience, so they can really decide by touching these grapes which are the best grapes for botrytis and which are the dry ones and not good ones. So we pick berry by berry. We are collecting these grapes over the weeks, and when we have the final amount, then we put these berries in fermenting sweet wine because they are now drier, and we have to add some liquid to it, and we leave it for 48 hours. We do this maceration, and then we do the pressing in a traditional vertical Hungarian press. After the pressing, fermentation starts. After the fermentation, we put it in oak barrel for 24 months, for 2 years.
Yeah, and I think the fabulously complex, really from every stage, as you say, from the picking to the production, and which results in a fabulously complex wine in terms of its flavor profile. And would you recommend a very different pairing for this wine versus the Samorodni?
It's the same pairing, so it's foie gras, the blue cheese, some dark chocolate. Someone enjoys it with a cigar, or I love to drink it in winter at night. So after my dinner, it's just this sugary honey flavors just warming me up, or if I'm sick and I have a sore throat, I love to drink a glass of Aszú because of the high sugar level, the fructose. It's really nice.
Yeah, and I would really, I think, just say and mention another thing that again, it's relatively high level, but I think with Aszú as well, I feel as though you're also kind of taking a step back in time, really. Where hundreds of years ago it wasn't so easy to access sugar in our diets as we kind of can very easily today. So those techniques have been honed and developed over hundreds of years, and I feel as though there's also a sort of a time travel element. You're tasting something from a bygone era, really, but again, still very modern as well in terms of how it can be paired. It can be used in typically high end gastronomy, but if your guests and yourselves and your friends are curious, I would say, about trying sweet wines, this is going to be a complete different look, I would say, into the sweet wine category, which again I'm sometimes guilty of overlooking, and I just think that every time that I come back now to that warm day, chilled Aszú, sitting out here on the terrace, it actually does pair ridiculously well with a day like this. It doesn't always have to be rosé or prosecco or a sort of a sparkling. Any of these wines kind of pair fantastically with a day like today.
Yes, it absolutely has its place, or even just to finish a meal with an Aszú. It makes it so festive. It makes the day festive. If you close the day with an Aszú.
Even a July day can be festive.
Even a July day. And why not having an Aszú? Yes.
Absolutely love it. And lastly, as we really look to closing, I'd just say a huge thank you to you, Anikó. It's been really such a fabulous day and fabulous couple of days in Tokaj. And really in closing, I just sort of invite you to look ahead. I mean, I think you've really looked ahead a lot in terms of the plantings and, where that could go. You've given us that kind of North Star. I'm curious, though, to really focus in a little bit on the UK market, because I know it's somewhere where you have in the past been present. You're not right now present. I'm just, again, that snapshot as we sit here July 2023, what are you sort of hopes and aspirations? And maybe what would you say if there's somebody listening who, is an importer or is, curious to try the wines and maybe is over there in the UK?
Currently, we are not present in the UK market, but we are constantly looking for a partner with whom we could work for a long time. We could grow together. So our size is small, from the 5 to 7, 8,000 bottles. So of course, we are looking for someone who understands our size and our style. We are organic, so. We have this portfolio from Pét-Nat, dry, sweet late harvest, and the dessert wine. So it's quite a diverse portfolio. Furmint is a kind of grape which is, I think, it's becoming more and more fashionable, and I think people in the UK starts to know more about Furmint. So we are looking for someone with a similar size to us, and these wines actually needs to be introduced. And for example, if it's served in the restaurants, they need some explication, Furmint and the style of the wine. So if it's in the gastronomy, restaurant business, they need some extra information. And we would be happy to be present on web shops or. And yes, we have our Instagram and Facebook, which is quite up to date. So if you are interested in our everyday life, you can follow the TR Wines Tokaj on Instagram and Facebook, or you can visit trwines.hu, where you can see our full portfolio and a little bit of history about us.
Firstly, a huge thanks to today's guest, Anikó Kada of TR Wines llya Tokaj. It was great spending the day with you in MAD, and I feel we really captured a unique point in your evolution. These are great wines with producers who are engaging and outward-looking, hospitable, and doing great things to connect their wine-growing region with younger drinkers in Hungary and now, via this podcast, internationally. I've included their website below, which has got tech sheets for all the wines, as well as links to their main social media handles and email address if you'd like to reach out. One favour to ask is that if you do make contact, please let them know you heard their story on Interpreting Wine. That unfortunately brings the Tokaj 2023 series to a close for now. All that's left to say is a huge thanks to both series guests, Laszlo Pele and Anikó Kada. If you're not yet subscribed to Interpreting Wine, make sure you hit that button now to be alerted when the next series goes live. See you soon.